What's going on, everybody? Match reaction time. Liverpool just lost 3-1 to Arsenal at the Emirates, and now the Premier League table's looking a lot a bit different, guys, okay? First off, let's just chat about the match itself, okay? 3-1 is not a good scoreline for Liverpool. We usually don't give up that many goals, right? We're going up against Arsenal. Both of us had conceded the least amount of goals, first and second, respectively, in the Premier League this season, okay? So right off the bat, 3 goals is kind of absurd. That's the first thing. Second, our attack is usually great, and Arsenal completely shut us down. Okay, we relied on a lucky bounce from Luis Diaz and really a handball from Gabriel that went in the net to get our goal. Okay, from the beginning, if you look at how Liverpool lined up, the midfield was never going to win that midfield battle. Never. They were never going to win that midfield battle. The entire first half, Arsenal just bypassed our midfield like they weren't even there. Gravenberch didn't even come alive until like 2 minutes left in the first half, where he ultimately created that chance that led to the goal. They were pressing our back line with this, like, we were playing in a diamond, right? You had McAllister and then 3 defenders. You had McAllister in the pivot, you had Konate, Van Dijk, and Gomez, okay? And they were playing in the half spaces, in the passing lanes, and completely just destroying our ability to play out from the back. We had to go over the top. Nothing worked. And ultimately, it led to Arsenal getting their first goal. All right. Arsenal outplayed us today. We felt optimistic coming out in the second half. We looked so dangerous the first 5 minutes. And then all of a sudden, you just collapse. Literally, you just collapse. The second goal was a flat-out mistake. Now, a lot of people might say Martinelli pushed Van Dijk into Alisson. It was a foul. Sure, I get that. But the fact remains that it was kind of a heads-up play for Martinelli, okay? Van Dijk was doing his job, shielding him off. Alisson was supposed to clear that ball away. But by Martinelli pushing, Van Dijk into Alisson, what did it end up doing? It made the play a mistake. Alisson couldn't clear it. His foot hit Van Dijk, and they finished, make it 2-1. Completely changed the momentum of the game. Liverpool put their heads down. Ultimately, it leads to Konate making a stupid mistake and getting a red card, and then from there, the game was over. We didn't look like ourselves today, and I saw some... Well, actually, hold on. Let's take a second and shout out our new channel member, Ardio McDodge. Good to have you back, man. Good to have you back, man. I appreciate you being here. I was saying... we just did not look threatening going forward. The team... Oh, never mind. Sorry, I know what I was saying. Some of you were saying that Klopp got the team selection wrong. And I could see that. Starting Gravenberch, right? But Szoboszlai was out, so we really didn't have too much of an option. McAllister and Jones start automatically. All right? Front line, didn't really have an option. You could have started Darwin, but with the foot issue, I understand why Klopp left him out. Okay, so all that is understandable. All that is completely understandable. But the fact remains that our midfield did not do the job it was supposed to do. Arsenal's tactical game plan, just cutting out passing opportunities for us, completely worked. We had no passes on. And you might look at the stat of like final third entries like, oh, it was pretty even. But it, like I'm watching the highlights now. This was the first goal. Alisson did a great job to save it, but Saka was there and he finished it off. There was nobody there to get that second ball, to mark that second runner on that goal. Okay, and now the second goal for Arsenal, someone just asking here, Sir Scotty says, was it Alisson or Van Dijk's fault? I think it's both their faults, dude. I really do. I think it's both their faults. I want to give credit to Martinelli for a heads-up play, right? Van Dijk shields off Martinelli, and it was just an awkward position for Alisson because he can't come out and get it with his hands. He's right on the edge of the area. Van Dijk can't really clear it because he's busy shielding off Martinelli. And Martinelli just said, you know what, I'm going to push Van Dijk a little bit. Wasn't hard. You know Van Dijk's not going to go down because if he does, he's going to run into Alisson, so he stays up. Martinelli made a heads-up play and ultimately capitalized on the mistake. It looked stupid. It was embarrassing as hell, and there's got to be better communication between Alisson and Van Dijk, whether Alisson comes off his line quicker and clears it, or Van Dijk just decides, hey, I'm not going to shield this guy off. I'm going to clear it. Someone's got to make a decision. And I'm watching the highlights now, but Let's go over to the chat and see what people have to say. A lot of new faces in here. Shout out to you guys. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're new. Ardio says that was hard to watch. Absolutely. Trap Joe, awful game, no urgency. And that was the biggest thing I noticed in the first half. Arsenal's urgency just was present. Liverpool were kind of almost playing like they were still half asleep. That was a sketchy call too. That very easily was a 50-50 penalty call. Here it is right here. Ball over the top. Van Dijk, awkward over the shoulder. Van Dijk does his job there, okay? He shields off Martinelli, but when you watch it slow motion, okay, Martinelli, that angle's weird. But when you watch it up close, that's exactly what happened. So Van Dijk shoulder to shoulders him, right? Martinelli, as a response to that, pushes him a little bit. That little touch pushed Van Dijk into Alisson's right foot, which Alisson was going to use to clear. That's all that happened. It was a little mistake, but it came from Martinelli not giving up on the play. Martinelli could have very easily just kept running, not done anything. Alisson would have cleared it. And thank God this Kiwi guy can't head. I mean, this game could have easily been 5-1 Arsenal. So easily. And then Konate's red card. You know, I think Konate, if it's a tie game at that point, I think Konate honestly doesn't do that. But I think he was just fed up with how bad the game was going. Oshak says, starting Gravenberch was a mistake. And, you know, we talked about this, man. He looked lost the first 40 minutes. He looked absolutely lost the first 40 minutes. And but who else are you going to start? You're going to start Elliott and Jones in the midfield? No. At least with Gravenberch, you get some size. Right? But I couldn't have said it better. Like Dean, this is ultimately what I'm getting at from Dean here. Arsenal deserved the win. Arsenal flat out deserved that win. And it's a combination of Arsenal's tactical approach to the game, which caused us to make these mistakes and just play poorly. Could not get anything going offensively. Really not a threat at all. There were a couple shots. You know, Curtis Jones had a decent effort at the start of the second half. McAllister had a decent effort. Nothing was like, oh man, there wasn't really a point in the game where I was like, okay, we could win this, except at the very start of the second half. Ardio here says both of Konate's yells were soft at best, right? But because he was the last man, it makes sense that they give him the yellow. It sucks. They're soft, but hey, start Elliott over Garage any day. At least he does stuff. You know, and I get why people would say that. But when on paper, if I'm looking at a midfield of Jones, Gravenberch, and McAllister versus Jones, Elliott, and McAllister going up against Arsenal, I'm starting Gravenberch, right? Hindsight's 2020. Looking back at it now, it's probably not the right decision, especially because Gravenberch looked like he didn't know what he was doing. But at the time, it was the right decision. It was absolutely the right decision. I think we know going forward now, though, that Elliott may offer something different attacking-wise. Right? And today it seemed like that's what we needed. We needed some threat going forward. We were not a threat at all attacking. Really. I mean, it just didn't seem like it. We just did not have it today. Trap Joe says taking Trent off was questionable as well. And taking Trent off was, I think, more so of a conditioning aspect, which is why Robertson didn't start. I think Klopp kind of mixed it up in that sense. Moving Gomez over to right back, allowing him to get forward more. Trent wasn't actually spectacular either. He got beat a few times. The whole team just looked bleh. Oh, God, it was just so tough to watch. It was really so freaking tough to watch. Big Dom should have started. Look, Dominic Szoboszlai, he was out, wasn't he? He was ill. He was injured. Something happened last minute. He's starting every day of the week over Gravenberch and Elliott if he's healthy, but something happened. Fabian says, defending was awful. Van Dijk was arrogant today and paid for it. And I'm assuming you're just talking, I can see he just has an arrogant aura about him, right? When he's playing, when he's defending, that's just how he plays. I honestly didn't think Van Dijk was particularly bad until he made that mistake, which was ultimately him and Alisson not communicating. He did his job on that play. He shielded off Martinelli. Again, if you watch it back, go watch it back. Martinelli made a heads-up play, pushed Van Dijk into Alisson. Now, some may call that a foul. I get that. It was, if you're going to call Konate's yellow card soft, you got to call that soft too, because he barely touched him. But it was enough to make Van Dijk hit Alisson's foot, and then Alisson couldn't clear it. The ball just kind of fell. So, Queasy says Sobo was sick. Yeah, and that's what I thought too. Oyvind said pretty bad performance. Definitely. No one stood out. No one stood out. There were guys who were definitely better than others, right? I think Curtis Jones, once Klopp made that tactical switch to go to the double pivot instead of just having McAllister picking up the ball, that made a big difference for a while, because we had Jones on the ball, who's much better in possession than pretty much every midfielder. I honestly think, like, him and Szoboszlai, Jones doesn't give the ball up. So once Klopp went to the double pivot, we started getting a little more chances, because I think it pulled an extra defender towards our half and maybe made some more space, I'm guessing. But even then, man, we couldn't do anything. We were not threatening at all, man. Arsenal played so well. They played us so well. They frustrated us to the point we got a red card. The mistakes we made. Right? I mean, they're interviewing Martinelli right now, and you got to give Arsenal credit for this one. It's just so weird how you go from, we're watching the team play Chelsea, how good we looked, right? And maybe that's down to Chelsea just not being a great team this season, but we looked so good. Everything was on point. It was at Anfield, right? We're away. That definitely plays a factor, but we didn't look like the same team today. We looked bad today. Deserved loss. Fabian says they were chasing us down from the start, and they absolutely were. That someone else was saying that earlier, that the urgency for Arsenal was there. Shout out to everyone here in the chat as well. Tony says we didn't bring the passion. We were slow to react and didn't show the sort of form that has made us feared by other teams. Exactly what I was talking about with Chelsea. Chelsea were scared of us. Arsenal were clearly not scared. And I think if any team approaches us like Arsenal did today, we're going to be in a world of trouble. And Oyvind says, what a sad debut for our new signing, Thiago. Dude, Thiago, welcome back. That pass he made, he picks the ball up deep in his own half, tries to lay it off to Van Dijk, I think. Van Dijk's not even there. Almost gives another goal away. God. Apparently, Szoboszlai is, I don't know what it's. Someone give me a clear answer, dude. I haven't looked it up. I haven't even been on Twitter since earlier this morning. All I knew is Szoboszlai was out. I don't know if it's illness, hamstring, whatever. You guys probably know more than me at this point. Shayna, very optimistic outlook. Arsenal and Man City can drop points too. You're absolutely right. I think what bothers most fans, myself included, is the fact you get two chances going head-to-head with these teams you're competing against for the top of the league. And you got to capitalize on those points, right? If you win 2 games, that's 6 points. Those are very valuable points. Head-to-head, very valuable. You have a chance to directly influence the table. Directly influence it when you're playing a team that you're equal on points for the most part in the table. So I think in Arsenal's mind, the way they reacted, the reason why they reacted the way they did was because of how big of a win this was for them. It would have been just as big for us. We were making that gap at the top of the table. Arsenal now, and they're interviewing Van Dijk here. Hold on, I want to hear what Van Dijk has to say. I'm just going to mute it. He says there shouldn't be any reason to panic. We need to learn from our mistakes. He says we need to take positives, specifically the second half. The way we started on the second half, the way we played for 10 to 15 minutes were positives. I agree with that. It's a good media trained answer. He took responsibility for the mistake. He's about to talk about the mix-up. Hold on. All right. So basically, he said everything that I was saying earlier. He said he should have cleared it, but he decided to put his body between the ball and the player. And he said it's very unlucky, the bounce, and then also that Allison hit him before the ball. And ultimately that led to the mistake. But he accepted full responsibility. His body language, he's closed off. He's clearly pissed off. But the way he's going about this is very professional, and I kind of respect it. I'm not mad at Van Dijk or Allison. It's embarrassing, right? That happens. Those happen. Those mistakes happen all the time. It's just, I don't know. It's just, it was ugly. It was awkward. He said it best. It was awkward. John Mack, poor all over the field. No creativity. One shot on target. We had no real feed from our midfield. Yes, none. No activity from our midfield whatsoever. Completely agree. Diaz should have played on the right with Gakpo on the left and Jota through the middle. Interesting. Diaz has no left foot. I wouldn't say no left foot. He's very, very right-footed. That's why Jota plays over there, right? But I completely get the thought process behind putting Gakpo on the wing versus in the false nine position. But that height. Good points, though. Inspector Gary says, I want Salah back immediately. And Endo, too. Endo controls the midfield for us. Great point. And lets Matt go further forward, which suits McAllister better. Right. McAllister's not a 6 by trade. McAllister is an 8 or at least like a box-to-box guy, right? He can play. He can tackle. He's good. But there's games like this where our midfield is completely overrun that you look at an Endo and you're like, wow, we're really missing him, right? Last match against Arsenal, nobody is thinking to themselves, oh man, McAllister was trash today. We really need a new 6. No, because we played well. It's games like this where you're really thinking to yourself, damn, we miss Endo. And they're showing the Wolves and Chelsea match right now. I think Wolves got Chelsea got demolished, didn't they? So Shane Buckley, I haven't seen Shane in a while. I know that name. If that is the best defender in the world right there, I would not like to see the worst defender in the world play. That was a disgrace from him. Captain my ass. Are you talking about the interview or are you talking about the play? Because the play, look, I'm just gonna give the guy the benefit of the doubt. It was ugly, needs to be better communication-wise. I think his decision to shield the player off was not the wrong decision. Let me put it this way. He executed that decision well. It was the wrong time. He should have just cleared it. And he said that in his interview. He should have just cleared it. He shouldn't have relied on Allison because he put Allison in a tough situation. Allison's right on the edge of his area. He can't dive and use his hands. So Allison ultimately has to do like a hop jump and try to clear it with his leg, and he couldn't. Awkward situation. Tony says, we're going to have this sort of game eventually. It's how we react that matters now. And that's why I like Van Dijk's interview, guys. I really like how Van Dijk approached that. But you guys let me know what you think. DJ Palsy P, what's up? Says, why start Gravenberch instead of Elliott? Size. I think hindsight, looking back, maybe wasn't the right decision because Gravenberch was lost in that first half. But I think I would have started Gravenberch too. I think on paper, when you're trying to make a strong midfield, I think Gravenberch, Jones, and McAllister is a good midfield. Connor Bradley was okay. Worst defending right back I've ever seen. He did get done up a few times today. He looked pretty bad. But that's another thing that I noticed. They completely took Trent out of the midfield. Trent didn't get in the midfield one time, guys. He was hugging the line. It was crazy. They took him out of the game. Maybe that's why we didn't have anything going forward, right? But it also doesn't make sense. We subbed him off. So Happy says today was not good for Liverpool. Absolutely not. What question? You sent like 800 chats. What do we got? If Chabi came to us, how would he use Trent, Connor, Gomez? Because he likes... Oh, yeah. Good question. Okay, so here's my theory. Gomez is just a utility defender, right? Gomez is just here for depth. And now that Robertson and Trent are back, I don't think we're going to see much of Gomez except rotationally, right? Did a great job at left back, but that's my opinion. In terms of Trent and Connor, Trent is playing a hybrid role under Klopp. It's hard to say what he's going to decide to do. Trent gets the start no matter who comes in. That's just smart, okay? And especially if it's a right wing back, you got to incorporate some level of hybridness, or you need to just bite the bullet and put him in midfield. The problem with that, if you put Trent in midfield, you lose out another spot. Who's going to play, right? Soboslai has to sit. McAllister has to sit. Jones has to sit. I could see that maybe. Soboslai, McAllister, Trent. That might be a decent midfield, right? Maybe Trent he's definitely more comfortable in the midfield. So maybe you put Bradley over there. And then you have Gomez as kind of a backup right back. It's an interesting thought. You just have to see, because sometimes managers come into different teams and they end up changing the system that they usually use. All right, a few more, guys, and then we'll wrap it up here. Yeah, Shane, no, I recognize all the names. If you guys have been here before, I recognize the names. Don't you worry. Inspector Gary says he's only playing the number 6 because Endo's off to the Asian Cup. So he plays the 6 for Liverpool even when Endo was here. Endo started when he got injured. It was just a timing thing. McAllister has played the 6. I'm trying to remember. There were probably games where Endo was 6, McAllister played the 8, and Soboslai. There were definitely games like that. But the timing was never quite right. Either McAllister was injured or, like you said, Endo's off at the Asian Cup. But McAllister started out the season playing at the 6. A 4-3-3 attack. That's what we set up in. I know we change it. I know, like, literally throughout the game, we started out with like just one pivot. It was like a back 3 attacking wise. It was like a 3-1. It was like a 3-1-4-1 or something. It was weird. But then when you have the double pivot, it's a 3-2-5. I don't know. It's weird how, because his standard go-to is 4-3-3, but that's not how we set up on the pitch. So I don't know. I like to think we're still in a 4-3-3 attack. We just rotate. Dr. Danger. We'll end on this here. Appreciate everyone being here. Seriously. Thank you guys. It's the first time we've done a live match reaction. So who do you blame the most on this result? The team. Simple answer, the team. Bad mistakes in the game made by individual players, sure. No communication between Van Dijk and Alisson ultimately led to the mistake, right? Gomez gave the ball away a couple times. Trent didn't defend. Gomez didn't mark the run on the first goal, so the rebound came off. Saka finished. Our midfield was non-existent. Gravenberch didn't know where he was. It's a team loss. It's a team loss. You can't, and Konate's red. You can't look at all these individual mistakes and say that's why we lost. We lost this game because Arsenal played really well tactically, and our midfield did not have anything for our attacking guys. It was a poor game. That might be one of the poorest games we played all season. Probably the poorest, because it's our only loss. Well, legit loss in the Premier League. Good question. And you guys, of course, if you're watching this back, okay, Oyvind, I'm glad you guys like the live reaction. Hopefully it's something we'll keep going. Very, very tough to take. You know, if you're going to take some positives, like Van Dijk said, right? Look at the fact that it's just our first loss. I know it's our second. It's our first legit loss, though. We did not lose the Tottenham match. Okay. I think we will not play like that again for the rest of the season. That was a one-off performance. That was very odd. Didn't even look like the same team that played Chelsea. We go again. We got Burnley. Got a pretty favorable schedule for the rest of the season. Obviously, we play Man City and stuff, but I'm looking forward to see how the team bounce back from this. And just for the record, I don't want to see anyone bashing Van Dijk or Alisson. I mean, it was embarrassing, yeah, but Van Dijk didn't directly make a mistake. He executed the decision he made well, but he did it at the wrong time. And he recognized it after the fact. He said, I should have just cleared it. Okay. He took responsibility for it. Alisson didn't really make a mistake. He was put in an awkward position by Van Dijk, but Van Dijk didn't necessarily do anything wrong, in my opinion. I just think it was an awkward situation, and I think it was honestly a poor decision. He could go one of two ways. He made the wrong decision. Mistakes happen. You're not perfect. So that's where I'm at. Thanks, guys, for tuning in, and we'll hopefully keep this going in the future for more post-match live reactions, guys. And until next time, take care.